What's up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to talk about a character that's really obscure in Star Wars Legends, a character that hasn't been highlighted for almost decades now, and quite possibly one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful, Darksiders in all of Star Wars. Not just Sith, not just Dark Jedi, I'm talking about upper echelon, most powerful characters. A character more powerful than Yoda, Mace Windu, Palpatine. It's pretty dang clear that this individual that we'll be discussing today is on another level.
Yeah.
It's a type of individual that I often refer to in my videos as an entity. It's not a physical being even. It's somebody that wields the Force in such a manner that it even overshadows an individual such as Grandmaster Luke Skywalker, who actually came into direct conflict with this individual and failed to kill them.
Luke Skywalker even claims that the character we're talking about, Abeloth, is beyond human comprehension because she's just so kind of far removed from what we would know to be like a Jedi or a Sith. She's really just kind of like a presence, like an entity, like you say.
Right, and this Abeloth was the main antagonist following the return of Emperor Palpatine, and is the main antagonist during when Luke Skywalker is sort of at his peak. So for him to say that Abeloth is beyond comprehension is insane. So yeah, we're going to be talking about today the entity Abeloth, who once upon a time was just a normal being, a normal individual that could be killed, could be vanquished, but something really interesting happened to her that made her grow to the level of power in Star Wars that she did. If you kind of want to share her biography a little bit.
So she lands on this planet where the Ones are, and the Ones are characters that you could see in the Clone Wars most famously.
They represent the pillars of the Force,
yeah,
essentially.
there's a father, a son, and a daughter, and her role, Abeloth's role, is to kind of serve these people just as like a mere mortal, and she kind of craves the ability to be like them, and because she just like absolutely falls in love with them, and she discovers these Force nexuses. One of them is the
font of power and the pool of knowledge.
And she bathes in the pool of knowledge and drinks from the font of power, and exposing those things to her make her into this incredibly powerful Force being, and then she takes on the role of the mother. And
I also want to note that when she actually did this, it twisted her mind because she was not at this point an entity like the Ones, whereas somebody like the Ones could partake of this and just absorb all of the power and not have it corrupt them because they're already an entity. Because Abeloth at this point, who's not really Abeloth yet, it's just known as the mother essentially, because she was not on that level, because she's a mortal, that power twisted and corrupted her mind, and then she fully aligned with the dark side at that point.
So, like, as she gains this power and she becomes corrupted, it becomes obvious to the son and the daughter and the father just exactly how powerful she's becoming, to the point where the son and the daughter exile her.
Essentially, just to fill in a little bit of some gaps between that point, Abeloth becomes overcome with power and kind of realizes that she's eclipsed the power of the Ones at this point. And what she actually does is she makes the son and the daughter bow before her in front of the font of knowledge. And the father, realizing that Abeloth has grown beyond even his power at this point in time, takes his children and flee the planet. What this does to Abeloth is her greatest fear comes to fruition, where she is on this planet all by herself with no means of escaping it.
She's completely abandoned.
That twists her even further in the dark side of the Force.
And as they like exile her and kind of like keep her quarantined in this place, there are moments when she tries to escape because, what is it again? It's like an earthquake or something that happens on the planet that allows her to like potentially flee. And the Ones, they, for what is it, like almost like centuries or something like that?
Yeah, they're forced to return to the planet.
They have to return and re-imprison her. And that kind of continues for this incredibly long amount of time until eventually the Ones are killed by Anakin Skywalker.
And the events that we see in the Clone Wars.
And the Clone Wars. And after that happens, she could sense it in the Force. She knows that the ones are now gone. And she has like this moment where she's like, obviously mourning these people that she's loved and is obviously very upset. But at the same time, she has this like newfound happiness knowing that she's going to finally be able to escape. And isn't there even a thing like with her ability, she creates like her own reality?
Yeah, it's known as the Beyond Shadows, where she can actually encounter people, and it is sort of like her own twisted version of her reality.
Yeah,
it's something that she wants, and it's really morphed. And Abeloth, it's very clear that because of just how powerful she is, she's insane.
Yeah, and
so it sort of falls on the responsibility of Luke Skywalker to contain Abeloth after he discovers her. And it's not only just the power of Luke that's eclipsed by Abeloth, it's also a lot of the Sith Lords that she encounters.
Yeah.
She's just far beyond any of them. Basically, to make a long story short, Luke discovers that the only way that he can really stop Abeloth is by keeping her on this planet, but at the same time, Abeloth's power is able to grow and she's able to influence others, essentially possess others and control them.
Yeah, from across the galaxy as well.
But what Luke discovers with this is that if he can actually vanquish these sort of hosts of Abeloth, Abeloth herself, the entity, becomes weaker.
Yeah.
And essentially, Luke discovers that he has to venture to this Beyond Shadows realm with the help of another Sith Lord, another prominent Sith Lord, Darth Krayt. And they're essentially able to nearly vanquish her. However, Luke does indicate that he believes that they aren't capable of destroying her, that they have to actually get the Mortis dagger, which they cannot find, which, if you remember in the Clone Wars, the Mortis dagger is like the only weapon that can destroy the ones.
Yeah.
And Luke also makes it clear, though, that he doesn't even believe that this weapon would be able to kill her completely. It would just be a bet.
Yeah.
Basically, what Luke says, though, is that he's going to make it one of the primary goals of the Jedi Order to obtain this weapon in just the hopes that it could one day vanquish Abeloth.
Yeah, if she were ever to return.
Obviously, Legends was thrown away after this, and this story was not continued. However, the thread was there for Abeloth to one day return.
Yeah.
It's really kind of unclear where she went following these events. But what's also made clear is that Luke believes that she will return. It's not so much an if, it's so much a when.
Yeah.
Abeloth's full powers were never really had the opportunity to be unleashed upon the galaxy because of the intervention of Luke Skywalker. And he was kind of able to hold her at bay. But again, if she were ever to fully embrace and get completely free, she would rain terror upon the entire galaxy. And there's only a few other entities in the Star Wars mythos that would be able to stop her if that was their role, such as the Force Priestesses or other beings known as the Wills. Basically, Abeloth, though, is the most powerful being in Star Wars that's aligned specifically with the dark side of the Force.
Yeah, and she has abilities that like just make like regular like fighting strategies like just look childish. Like there's a thing where she gets shot by a blaster and she catches the blaster bolt in her hand and like twirls it in her fingers. Yeah, which is like the craziest thing.
The conventional powers and weaponry of Star Wars basically have no effect on her. Lightsabers have little effect on her. She's able to shapeshift completely. She's able to change her form because she's not actually a physical being. It's essentially power at this point. Uncontained, unparalleled power that has twisted this mind. So she's a really interesting character, and it's kind of unfortunate that we'll never be able to see the conclusion of her story because of just how powerful she was. And we never even got a full glimpse of her potential. We know she was capable of things like using Force lightning. We knew that lightsabers had little to no effect on her, and that the only real way to stop her would be with one's use of the Force. Yeah. But it legitimately takes one of the most powerful Sith Lords ever in Darth Krayt and the most powerful Jedi ever in Grandmaster Luke Skywalker, along with the help of his son, to even stand the smallest of chances against her.
Yeah.
And for someone like Luke, who has faced individuals like a returned Palpatine and like Darth Vader, really the upper echelon of the most powerful beings in Star Wars that even don't even see the use of lightsabers anymore. For Luke to denote Abeloth as like the greatest threat ever is really, really impressive.
He even describes her as like a dozen times more powerful in the Force than he is.
Yeah,
Something
which is
like that.
ridiculous because Luke Skywalker, again, as stated by George Lucas, achieved the potential that Anakin Skywalker, the chosen one, didn't.
Yeah.
Essentially meaning that as a living physical being, he is the most powerful. That's where it stops.
Yeah.
So for him to say that Abeloth, something beyond the physical, beyond something that's actually alive and is more like a force of nature than a living creature, is 12 times more powerful than him, it's absolutely insane.
Yeah, it's a crazy amount of power that Abeloth has.
It's really only believed that individuals like the Force Priestesses, individuals that it's speculated are responsible for the Force itself in Star Wars, are able to stop her. And even that is just a...
speculation.
Right.
It's like, there's no way to actually say that could happen.
Right. But as a specific only dark side entity, she is beyond anybody else.
Yeah. Definitely a super cool character. Exactly like what I'd like to see out of like the new movies. Like just a really cool higher concept that is fun to explore in Star Wars to get beyond kind of the things that we've seen already with like regular Sith and stuff like that. Like I think that would be such a cool direction for them to keep taking this franchise. But unfortunately, now that Legends has been kind of like scrapped and all that, you know, it doesn't really work like that. But definitely a super cool like being in Star Wars that's fun to explore.
Right. Sort of even like a myth to a lot of the Sith and Jedi. A being beyond the toils of the Sith or the Jedi, where even being in their presence would drive them crazy. I mean, you talk about powerful Sith Lords, you have like Vitiate, Sidious, Bane. This is a whole other level. This is a cosmic force. Anyway, though, guys, what are your thoughts on Abeloth? She's pretty much an unparalleled Darksider that was only really delayed, not even defeated by the end of her story, which unfortunately it doesn't look like we'll ever see the end of. But maybe one day, you never know. Do you guys want to see Abeloth in canon? How could that even be pulled off in canon? That's another thing I want to know. But I want to hear your thoughts on it. And do you know more about Abeloth? Do you want to know more about Abeloth? And do you think a character like this belongs in Star Wars? Or would you rather keep it more confined to beings that are actually living physical people? I want to hear all your thoughts. I'm really interested. Anyway, my friends, hope you enjoyed this video, this discussion one, and have a great